Hello, I am on my quest to make videos and projects about Yu-Gi-Oh! That you are not, like, entirely used to seeing, or else giving him some sort of twist, a little something special. So, today we are going to go absolutely crazy by doing something exceptional using mundane means. We will be rating Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype art by using a tier list. I know, it's crazy. Next time, we'll be using a wheel to do something. We're gonna go through every archetype in this game. There will be more than one episode of this, of course. There's only 50 archetypes. We're gonna put everyone in this list. Also some notes. We'll be going by archetype, so it doesn't matter if an archetype has that one card that makes you go, "Oh fuck!" As long as it's a rose among rubbish. You get me? Let's start by explaining the tiers. We got S+.
Excellent!
This is reserved for the best of the best. Exceptional stuff. The tier that makes you angry because your favorite isn't in it. Nice. Just good art. Presents a narrative or is otherwise interesting to look at and or ponder. Okay, this contains art that's good, but not necessarily very exciting. I just don't care. Some would argue the worst tier to be in. Ugly. I don't want to look at these cards. If you play them against me, I won't read to check if you misplay. With that out of the way, let's just get started, alright? We're gonna start with Trap Hole. The Trap Hole cards are cool. They've got these neat little Easter eggs and details that are nice, like the silhouette of Moki Moki looking down into the floodgate trap hole. And like all the effect designs for the different holes are very cool and neat and varied. It's honestly quite impressive how many times you can tell the story of a trap hole being sprung and keep it interesting. This will fit very nicely in nice tier. Elemental Hero. These have some sentimental value to like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, I feel. But in all honesty, I've never really liked the Elemental Heroes. The artistic potential of the fusion concept is pretty neat, but most of the base creatures are boring, making the fusion monster bosses also very boring. And they make me think about like bootleg superhero toys. The newer fusion boss monsters are pretty, like, okay. And if the rest of the archetype had the same quality, I wouldn't have to put them all in ugly tier. World Legacy. The World Legacy archetype has some cool art pertaining to the World Legacy storyline, but I just don't find the designs of the World Legacy artifacts very inspiring. World Legacy Monstrosity is one of the coolest art they have. They'll fit nicely in okay tier. They're okay. Black Wings. This archetype is a hard one to rate. It's got so much variety, yet it's still cohesive in its strangeness. It's got some of the ugliest cards, yet some of the most badass ones. And therefore, Black Wings land, like a bird does, lands on nice tier. Move these two around. They just have too much like attitude and personality. Visa Starfrost. One of the most boring main characters in a story containing some of the coolest archetypes. I simply just don't care. Archfiends. Really like the Archfiend art. They have these core design details that make them cohesive. And some really awesome art pieces. I still feel though that many of the cards within the archetype are at odds with each other, design-wise. I'll put them in okay tier past World Legacy. Crystal Beast. Guess which archetype holds the ugliest card art ever printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! I consider the card Amethyst Cat an abomination, and honestly many others within this archetype are not too far off from being the same. I feel like the Crystal Beast aesthetic could have been better executed. I place Crystal Beast confidently in ugly tier. The competition will be fierce down here. Let's do Phantom Knights. They're alright. Sometimes cute, sometimes cool. I feel that many of them are a bit wonky and could benefit from cooler posing and framing. I like the contrast between the blue spooky energy and the crusty old medieval garb. Also, plus points for the tiny spooks flowing off the weapon cards. They're okay. Okay tier. 6 Samurai. The concept of 6 Sams is pretty decent. It's like samurais with a sci-fi twist to it. But something with the art style bugs me. I think I take issue with the colors of the older cards, and overall the glowing stripes that provide the sci-fi flavor needs to be toned down just a scooch. I think the card's secret skills of the 6 Samurai represents like the style goal of the archetype very well. Okay tier. Let's talk about number. The number archetype is incredibly vast and contains so many different designs that considering them the same archetype is a highly dubious affair. Yet, here they are, lumped together. Why? Because they have those sweet numbers on their artwork, tying them together. Some of the coolest cards are numbers. Some favorite ones are number C101 Silent Honor Dark, number 41 Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, and number 95 Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon. I consider the vast majority of number cards iconic, and they are very fun to collect. It has to be our first S+ tier. Boom. Destiny Heroes. They have what I feel some of the more interesting hero type designs. The boss monsters in particular are overall cooler than at least E-heroes. That said, they're still quite goofy, but in general I seem to tolerate more D-hero designs and have actually used them in deck building. Their boss monsters are overall more interesting than E-heroes. I'll put them in okay tier. They are okay. Red Dragon Archfiend. It is hard not to like some aspect of Red Dragon Archfiend. Its base form is cool, but it also has so many other awesome forms to choose from. And that is a boon for sure, but I have to say that I get them interchanged and confused quite often at a glance. I think they did not do enough to differentiate the different forms of RDA. But the designs go hard. I especially like the choice of making Scarred Red Dragon Archfiend have a lot of pink mixed in with its reds. Nice tier. Psychic. The Psychic archetype feels very chaotic and without any real particular connection except for like the color green. They are still very charming in their own unique way, but they do feel a bit mismanaged, which makes me sad. Psychic and Punisher though, wowee, what a card. And these go into okay tier. Fallen of Albaz. Alright, so this is the first of the Albaz storyline that we look at. I'm not really that interested in the majority of fusion monsters. Alba Lenatus is a cool Red Dragon Archfiend bootleg, and honestly, Titanic Lad should have an alt art. It's the coolest one. The alt arts of Cartesia and Ecclesia stand as some of the best alt arts in this game right now. And the spell cards have particularly good art and depicts the lore in a nice manner. This should be in very high nice tier. I just think the fusion monsters should be more interesting. Aesir, Nordic. Disgusting travesty. As a person of the North, I felt seen by Konami with this archetype. But they must have seen me as an abominable beast, fated to live out my short and disgusting life, hidden in an isolated cellar never to be set free. That's my opinion on the Aesir. And also most of the Nordics. It's a fresh take on the characters, so I'll give them that. Götterdammerung and Gulwig are alright. Ugly tier. Bottom of ugly tier. You're ugly. Next. Mirror Force. Iconic card with many beautiful variations, yet still quite uninteresting. Maybe they should do more with Mirror Force Dragon. Give it the max Metal Morph treatment. Sadly, it's gonna be in meh tier. Still more interesting than Visas, though. I'll have you notice. Dark Magician. I know this is the Dark Magician from the Shining Sarcophagus archetype, by the way, but it's one of the cooler Dark Magician artworks. So I chose it because I like it. So no, don't at me in the comments, okay? I know. This archetype contains one of my goats. Magician of Black Chaos. Dark Magician's got some of the most cinematic pieces of card arts there are. Some of the dankest exodia monsters as well. Dark Magician girl? Come on now. Come on. The only critique I can think of is that it can get repetitive, seeing the same monsters all the time. But it's going to have to be an S tier, buddy. It's got Demok in it. My hands are tied. Utopia. Utopia is cool. It is somehow iconic and generic at the same time. It has a larger amount of cards and still not enough of them pop out at me. I'd say the alt art of base Utopia is pretty neat. I'll put him in okay tier. Past the Phantom Knights. Oh past the Phantom Knights. Gladiator Beasts. There's a lot of cards in this archetype, and I like a very small amount of them. The theming just doesn't sit well with me. Like gladiators and anthropomorphic animals, it's kind of lame. I don't know, man. They're all pretty cringe. Not gonna lie. Can't even lie. Gladiator Beast Nerokius looks pretty boss, though. I think this is an ugly archetype. It's ugly. Ugly tier. It's just so cluttered. This one is uglier than Acer Nordic only because it's boring as well. It's boring. Next. Monarchs. The Monarchs have a very imposing art style, fitting their theme. Their spell and trap cards showcase the individual monarchs in action, which is a nice bit of storytelling. There's just something with them that rubs me the wrong way. There are a lot of monster cards that bring this archetype down in cohesion. And not all monarchs are equal in quality, especially when it comes to posing. They belong in nice tier. Morphtronics. I really like the concept of Morphtronics. And I do think they are quite fun. However, the best looking one is Telephone. That card is very recent, and if the whole archetype had a similar quality, I'd probably rate them very high. It's probably one of my most favorite machine archetypes. Also, I do really like their base forms in the background, but I'd like to change them just a bit so they aren't as prominent. Nice tier. Goblin. These guys are super iconic in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Goob Squad and all its different iterations and cameos are really fun. The Greedy Gobbo and his story centered around the pot. Just can't get enough. It's nice tier. It's gonna be nice tier. Umi contains art that feels grand and powerful. I have a soft spot for giant sea creatures with cannons on their backs. And most of the recent Umi-related cards have had very nice art. It does feel a bit sparse though. More please. It's gonna be a nice tier. Something like that maybe. Lightsworn. With the big exception of Curious and recently Vice, Lightsworn just don't do much for me. They often look awkward in their posing, as if their heads don't belong to their bodies or something. Judgment Dragon and its variations are alright. I'd like it if they looked nicer, like Falcor in the Neverending Story. These are going into meh tier. Stardust. Okay, so there's a lot of strange dragons in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Stardust Dragon is one of the stranger ones, which makes it actually quite interesting. Its face is like a cross between a goblin shark and an air-to-air missile. Real cool stuff. I wish it were more flamboyant with glitter effects though, being called Stardust Dragon and all that. I'm going to put it in OK tier. Amazonas. I haven't really thought of it as one of the better looking art-wise, but when pondering the cards, I have to say, as far as female representation in this game goes, when it comes to body types and age groups, the Amazonas archetype does okay, and I think that counts for something. It does better than most other archetypes in this game, at least. Also, there are several sweet card arts in their lineup as well, such as Amazonas Willpower and Amazonas Chainmaster. I'll put them in okay. No. Put them in nice. Yeah. Infernity is this archetype where I will look at a specific card and think, hell yeah, only to wince in disgust when witnessing the rest of its ilk. I'm sorry, Infernity lovers, you have one of the handsomest anime pilots, with an archetype consisting mostly of uggos. Ugly! You are ugly! D, absolutely vast archetype, and one that I look at thinking, dang it, I wish they weren't so xenophobic. But they are racist. They need to mostly be played in archetype. There is so much to like about DD. They are bonkers, have a lot of range in their designs, and the demon bossing in throne line of DD cards are fantastic. My favorite is probably DDDD Super Dimensional Sovereign Emperor Zero Paradox. S+ tier. Another common DDDW. Amazement! Amazement has a theme park that is painfully unexplored and is replete with potentially fun ideas and concepts. I think the problem might be that they kind of enter performa territory, but I think that Amazement has a more focused design direction that I enjoy. Nice tier. Make more. Make more for me. Altergeist. Listen, they are unique and different, but it's like different in a way that makes me go, They're not visually offensive like that, but I think I'm going to have to take a neutral stance and put them in meh tier. Dinomorphia. I'm actually surprised as to how few Dinomorphia cards there are. I do think I like their style. I'd probably have to rate Kent, Regina, and Diplo quite high, while Therizia is the worst. Her claws feel too large, making her look like a doof. A clunky doofus. Also, in the storytelling department, what exactly is going on? Are they cyber dino villains? Or cops? I'm thinking that there's some sort of police force that fight generic mechs with giant dinosaur weapons platforms. They're okay. Paleozoic. These critters are fantastic. Cool colors, every card is solid. Olenoid's face is a tad bit effed up, but I'd be lucky to look half as good as the old Noid when I'm 500 million years old. They don't represent much of a narrative at all, like, are they depicted as hunting or something? I'll put them in nice tier, very high. They're that good. Raid Raptors. This is going to sound a bit bigoted, but honestly, all of these birds look the same. Meh tier. Kowakimeru is one of those mishmash messes of an archetype that individually have some strong designs that I actually like, such as Supplier and Guardian. But in the end, it just feels like they poured out the bin underneath the desk onto the table and said, just make those! And so, here they are. In meh tier. Sinful Spoils. is a collection of cards tied to the Diabellstar storyline. And they're very pretty cards all in all. They lean into using a lot of fun contrasting colors for the effect. Some even look like cool neon lights. I'm mostly thinking about the cards Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Silvera and Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye. They do, however, stray a bit too far into spamming the effects in the art, and since they pop, they turn into the focal point, which in turn can muddy the composition. The best one is Warned Seeker of Sinful Spoils, because one piece. Nice tier. Performapal. There are so many Performapal cards that really, perks me up. It's such a colorful and silly archetype. The only problem is that there's an equal amount of cards that make me uncomfortable, like Minitaras. But the best parts of the archetype are the magician-styled ones. It's in the cards like Sky Magician and Laugh Maker where this archetype shines. It is often a bit too goofy in a sloppy kind of way, so I'll put him in OK tier. Ninja. This archetype feels like it has some potential. The newer cards are a bit more ostentatious in their design, which makes them more conspicuous, which makes them, frankly, bad at ninjaing, I presume. I kind of like them. Geo the Gravity Ninja is a really cool concept. But the best looking cards are Mazen and Baku. I do have to say that the trap cards, with art relating to the ninja archetype, are also quite good. OK tier. Yeah. Alien. I actually really like the Alien cards. They are ugly but in a silly, purposeful way. And that's why I think they work. They play around with the retro sci-fi aesthetic, and I do think they should have leaned into it even more. The Cosmic Fatzos are real cool. Still, I put them in OK tier. They need a lot of work. Okay. Earthbound. Full disclosure, the Earthbound cards are some of my favorite cards to play. I am biased and I like them a whole bunch. That's why I'm going to have to be extra harsh to them. The latest support is moving in a nice direction, but some of the Prisoner card arts designs feel uninspired. The Gremlin twins could have been better realized than just being vaguely humanoid-shaped beanbags. What makes the archetype interesting are the references to the Nazca line. They really should lean super duper hard into that. The Prisoners, especially Groundsweeper, are good. I don't really understand Groundkeeper. The only really egregious one is Servant Griffin, which in general is a forgettable card design, if not for one detail that forces it into my mind as one of the laziest card arts ever. Look at its posing. Does this bird look like it's taking glorious flight? No, it looks like it's doing a play of the game freeze frame pose. How desperate and embarrassing is it to put in speed lines below this thing, as if it's moving in any way? Is it on some sort of invisible elevator? Embarrassing. Anyway, I love these guys. Top of OK tier. Ghost Trick. Some of them are charming, and the idea behind them is sweet. However, looking at them now, I just can't make myself care. Meh tier. Meh. Madolce. Strays almost into Ghost Trick territory, but the quality difference is clear. These are even more charming, and the idea is even sweeter. Sweeter? This is one of the few instances of chibi art in Yu-Gi-Oh! Working and looking good. As I said though, it's not really my cup of tea. I'll have coffee with my sweets, thank you. OK tier. Eldritch. Buddy, what can I say? Such an iconic archetype. There are two cards that really elevate it. Elixir of the Glorious Golden Land and that. Alt art of Eldritch, the Golden Lord. If all their cards had the same swagger, they'd probably be contending for some of the best art in this game. Sadly, many cards do weigh Eldritch down into nice tier. More Eldritch cards, please. Tech Genus is this potpourri bag of an archetype with questionable content. You know what it's supposed to do, that is, make the room smell better, but when you stand in that room, you don't understand the smell. At least, it doesn't smell like shit. But it sure does look like it. Ugly tier. Oh. Red Eyes, Black Dragon. We all know which tier Red Eyes belongs to. It's got Flare Metal Dragon, Black Metal Dragon, Full Metal Dragon, and midriff-bearing six-pack skirt paladin riding a Dark Dragon. Red Eyes is the most metal archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you don't agree with me, or the rating I'm giving it, then you're just like Konami, refusing to give Red Eyes the support it deserves, because they fear its true power. S+. Galaxy. This archetype is a bit difficult for me to rate justly. The Galaxy Eyes family of extra deck monsters are so incredibly beautiful and cool. I'm a bit iffy on the main deck side of the archetype, but I'm incredibly weak to the Tachyon and Cypher portions of it. Everything is so bombastic and colorful. It is hard for me, though, to look past main deck Photon Dragon's incredibly and uncomfortably toned calves. Like, wow. Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon is getting a lot of gains marching in and out of the banishment. All in all, I find them unique enough and insufficiently lame. The archetype is saved by their extra deck and inseparable connection to Cypher and Tachyon. Top of S tier. Egyptian God. Let me just begin by saying that the alt arts of Obelisk, Slifer, and Ra are some of the best that this game has to offer. I can't overstate how cool this trio is for the franchise, and I truly, truly wish they'd get some sort of supporting archetype that helps them to be playable. I'm also very enamored by the Slime archetype. Guardian Slime showing off a great color scheme that makes me smile. Anyway, as far as this tier list is concerned, they are a sad mishmash of kind of connected cards that deserve more coordination and separation. But I will still put them in nice tier because they should be an S+. But at present, they just don't pass muster. Whoa, 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 whoa. This one is hard. I'm not kidding. The actual like Egyptian god cards, alt arts, are super duper nice. I think we'll do it like this. This rating is not fair, but I don't give a shit. I do give a shit. I think it's good like that. Yeah. Marincess are based on a fairly interesting premise. Lots of neat sea creatures being referenced to, such as, I don't know, like a marine slug or something. However, I can't really get away from seeing them as quite generic and stale. Almost like they are people cosplaying Marincess monsters. You know what I mean? The best they've got is Pascalos and the MBT, but in the end, I do think that I'm going to have to place them in meh tier. Metal Morph. Isn't it crazy that they gave Metal Morph support of all things? Such a peculiar choice. I think the thought process must have been, how do we give Red Eyes fans support without actually giving them support? The archetype's alright, I mean it's got Red Eyes in it, and I'm a huge fan of Bandit Keith's taste in Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Slight foreshadowing of what's to come. It's just that, I don't know, I just think the archetype is nice. It reeks of that specific flavor of nostalgia that this game is built on the back of. And not for nothing, but Metal Illusionist is a really neat remix of the card Copycat. Quite the glow up. Okay tier. Gadgets. I really like these guys. They're colorful, simple little fellows, and the boot up cards are really cool. I really wish they'd explore that particular part of the archetype more. As it stands now, there's this strange cross-pollination going on with Morphtronic and Ancient Gear. It confuses things and lowers their ranking. If I were in charge, I'd make a retrain of Gadget Soldier and make him an actual gadget card, replacing every one of his crazy abdominals with a gadget of some sort. Okay tier. Dark Lord. Oh boy, these are good. Those who made the Dark Lord art, the ones with the newer art direction, they were inspired. The red spiky halos, the beautiful jet black wings, the mix of elegance and malevolence, the delighted smiles and stoic displays of power. It really floats my boat. Looking past the cards of an older art direction, and despite me hating Ukoback, who should sod off to the fabled archetype, I cannot place this lower than S+ tier, at the very top. Ending this episode with a high note. But that'll be it for the first part of this tier list. If you want to critique or maybe even praise some of my art, feel free to scour the Reader of the Cards YouTube channel and do that. You can even attempt to sway my opinion of the rankings in the comment section of this video. Who knows, maybe I'll change some things up at the start of the next one. Either way, thank you for watching and supporting the channel. I appreciate it. Have a nice, whatever it is, day, night, week. Bye bye. Man kan vara från potta men det finns ingenstans att gå. Helt otroligt.